Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to do a tutorial on how I program and mix and process my MIDI drums to make them sound live and natural. So this is the track. It's like a post-hardcore, post-punk, like emo type thing. I'll just play it for you. You can hear the drums and stuff. And I made a tutorial on this track already. It's on my channel. I went more in detail on like the guitars, and I showed how I made everything. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on my channel. It's called like how to make post-hardcore or something. I'll put it in the description. So yeah, that's the track. This is kind of like a post-hardcore thing, but you can apply this to like any genre. You know, if you're making pop music or indie music or folk or whatever, like anything with live sounding drums. Just kind of depends on what kind of vibe you're going for. But yeah, this is kind of what I do. I use a drum kit. It's a SSD5 sampler. It's free, which is pretty sweet. So I use this for anything that I want, like a full drum kit sound. Sometimes I use samples from Splice, but for most of my tracks I use this. So that's how the drums sound. Very big, very reverby. I'll take off my effects. Oh, you can't see that. One sec. It's on my other monitor. There we go. So let's play it. Here it is. I have all my drums go to this bus, and I have Cymatics Diablo, free. But you can use any sort of like hard clipper or soft. I'm using a soft clipper actually. Oh no, I'm hard clipping it. But you can use any sort of like subtle distortion saturation plugin. I like this one. I don't know, I downloaded it a few years ago and I just keep using it, but it doesn't really matter. You could use Fruity if you're using FL Studio. Fruity Soft Clipper, yeah, is that here? And just kind of like, I don't really use this very much, but you could just like play with the threshold and post, get the same effect. You could use Decapitator's sick. Any sort of like subtle saturation plugin. Also, I use OTT. Pretty subtle in the depth, just like around 30%. And then depending on how like punchy I want them to sound or how like in your face I want them, I'll play with the gain. Sometimes I'll have this at 0, but usually I keep it around like 5 dB-ish. Just kind of, I don't know, depends on the song. And then these, I like the cymbals to sound really bright and high. So I boost the highs just a little bit. Again, sometimes I might do the opposite. For this particular track, I'm doing that. And then the most important part, the reverb. Big mix, 52%, and low decay. And then I would probably bring that up actually. I find when I'm mixing my tracks, the low end of the drums are really muddy. Just from like the reverb, so I should probably do that. And yeah, this is kind of the same preset I use all the time. I don't really mess with this, to be honest, but sometimes I do. Depends on what you want, but I feel like what I have here, I have this on every track. This is like part of my template, so I kind of do the same thing for everything. And then this is like a filter that I am not using. So I'll play the drums with and without effects. With. Just way more flat and lifeless, and it's just like so much sicker with the effects, reverb, and the OTT makes a big difference. You can put the OTT after the reverb too, and it'll like compress the reverb, and it sounds like cool. Yeah, sometimes I do that. In this case, I'm not. Just so much better with the effects. Okay, that's effects. The way you program it is pretty important too. So a lot of times with like, usually I'll keep, for the most part, I'll keep the samples on the grid, but a lot of times like for toms, I'll drag them slightly to create kind of like a flam. It sounds so much better having the tom just slightly delayed off of the snare. This one I didn't do a whole lot of off the grid stuff. Sometimes I'll be a little bit more picky with where I place my samples. This one I kept pretty, because like if you're playing drums live, you're obviously not going to hit every single drum at the same time, the same rhythm perfectly, so you can drag things slightly off. Sometimes I do that. In this situation I kept pretty much everything on grid. Oh, this is off slightly. Did I just do that now? I think I did. But for toms, like flams, if I'm having the snare and tom hit at the same time, I 100% just slightly drag the tom forward or backward, or the snare, just have them like off each other, not on the same beat or measure exactly. You can do that with the kick too, but I don't know. For this one I didn't. But yeah, not a whole lot going on. Velocity too is a big one. I didn't really play with the velocity with this, but there's a few where I, especially with snares, like with snare fills, I find it sounds a lot better if you have the hits kind of different velocity, and hats too. I didn't do it here. This isn't the best example of how I do my drums. But normally what I would do is maybe every other one, I would drag these down slightly like that. Probably sounds better just to make it sound more natural, because you're not going to hit every single hi-hat, every single cymbal at the same velocity every single time. So that's probably a good thing to do. But yeah, just about the effects. The effects go so far, like, it really brings it to life. So when you're programming your drums, you just want to think about like how a drummer would play it in real life. Like, you know, they only have 2 sticks, so you don't want to have like, you know, too many sounds playing at once, because like the drummer just like wouldn't be able to play that. You can't see that, it's on your screen. There we go. Like if a drummer's playing in real life, they're not going to be able to hit all these sounds at once, right? You don't want to have too many things going on. So you just want to like program it and like think of how a drummer would play in real life. And it helps to watch like drumming videos on YouTube, and just kind of like see like how they play and how many what cymbals they hit and like all that stuff. That helps a lot. But yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Like once you get like the effects down, like the reverb, compression, all that basic stuff, it just sounds good, and you just go in, program your drums, and yeah, make them sound how you want. So that is the end of the video. Hopefully you guys learned something and I explained it properly. If you have any other production questions, you know, if you want me to do any track breakdowns or anything, just drop a comment and I'll make a video for you. Full tracks on my SoundCloud if you want to listen. And yeah guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. And please like and subscribe for more.